Welcome to Coddiwompling Along the Tao with Noel Eastwood, and this is episode 13, and I am talking about the Fool's Journey through the Tarot Pentacles. Okay, here's my notes. Yeah, there's not much, excuse me, there's not much there for you to copy, but it's for me. What I wanted to talk to you about is basically what an author gets up to when they're writing a book. And I'd written the Major Arcana, the Fool's Journey through the Major Arcana, quite a few, over five years ago, something like that, 6 years ago. Anyway, I'd written it as a story, a free story for my subscribers to my website, and the book just kept getting bigger. Started off as a little book, well, you know, like 22 characters, 22 pages. And the story just evolved. It would not let me get away with a little story. And over a number of editing episodes, Joanne, my editor Joanne, came along and pulled the story apart, and we rebuilt it, and that's become my bestseller and very, very popular. And I must say, I still enjoy reading it. I go back to it when I need to, because in writing these stories of the minor arcana, sometimes I forget, what did I actually say about the Strength Lady? Things like that. The one that I did have to check was, what did Follen carve in the oaken beam over his hermitage? Now that tossed me for a while, but I had to go back and read what he'd actually carved. I won't tell you because that's for you to find out. With the Pentacles book, it was never on the horizon. I did not intend, I never even thought to write the minor arcana. It just wasn't on my mind. I had, you know, had my busy practice. I'm doing 1,000 different things and writing more books. I was focusing on writing astrology. That's what I was intending to do. But the seeds were planted, and up sprung the first leaf, and then another leaf, and they opened up. And next thing you know, I just had to write the series. Mind you, it's been hard work. Really has, for a number of reasons. I'll walk through that as well. Let me just come up here. I'll be fiddling about with this. Follen, the word Follen is Old French for fool, and because I needed to give Follen, the fool, a name. I couldn't call him the fool throughout the entire series. That would be rude and cruel. So I had to give him a decent name, but a fitting name. So I went online and I found this word Follen, which is Old French for fool. But it sounds like a real name. It's got quality. I can't, you know, I have to admit, I fell in love with that name. It's a simple name, and it fitted him perfectly. And he wears it with pride. He's not afraid of it, and neither am I. I'm quite proud of that name now. But he found a lover. That's the card, what, the 7th or 8th card, is the 9th card. I can't remember now, blimey. Here I am, a tarotist and astrologer, and I can't remember. Anyway, so his lover had to be involved. I couldn't write his journey through the other kingdoms, the other suits, without his partner. That would be dumb. So I had to give Eve character and qualities that would match or support Follen in his journey. So the main character is Follen. It's the fool's journey. It's his journey. And Eve is no one's fool, believe me. She evolved her own character. Her character just came out as I wrote it. And I like her. She's honest. She's resourceful. She's dependable, and she has a super strength of character. But she's a nice person. With Follen, he is, in those early books, he had to find himself, and that's why the 22 cards of the major arcana was his introduction to power, his introduction to knowledge, his introduction to the Tao. And each character in the major arcana are powerful archetypes of knowledge and qualities, we could say. Whereas the cards in the minor arcana are situational. They aren't people. Although we've got the four court cards, Page, Knight, Queen and King, they can represent people, but they actually represent maturity, levels of maturity within that suit. So the minor arcana actually lends itself to writing a story, because each card is a chapter, and that's what happens. That's what I wrote down here. Each card becomes a chapter, from the Ace to the 10. And that one would think that would make it easier to write a story. However, I had to come up with a theme that was engaging. I had to engage the reader, because if it wasn't interesting and engaging, then no one would read my books. They would be boring. But I had to be able to continue the themes that evolved in one book into the next book, into the next book. I had to maintain the theme of that suit throughout each chapter as well. So that takes a lot of work. That means I'm constantly going backwards and forwards from chapter to previous chapters to make sure those threads are tied up and they're linking with each other. If you look at a tapestry, and my wife does tapestry, so you flip it over to the back of the tapestry and it's just all these threads everywhere. There's no rhyme, there's no themes there at all, but you flip it back to the front, it's like it comes alive. It's beautiful. The theme of tapestry came to me when I saw the Bayeux tapestry, which is the tapestry commissioned by King William, who conquered the English at the Battle of Hastings in 1066. He commissioned this tapestry, which is like I think it's like a metre high and about 100 metres long. It's this enormous tapestry, but it's a story that just continues on of his conquest. And that is our life. We have themes, the threads become themes. We have themes that flow through our life story, and we are like a tapestry. And so each book is a tapestry for that suit. But it has to also lead in from the previous book. I didn't want separate stories for each suit, because Fallen and Eve are on a journey learning from their being apprentice magicians to becoming full-blown mature magicians themselves. The journey that they're on is one of learning about themselves, and that's what I hoped to bring through. But how do they learn? By engaging, immersing themselves in the theme of that suit. So in Pentacles, it's Earth. And if you haven't seen the map, then jump online. It's there. You can download it. I've got it as my background to my computer when I'm writing, so that I know where I'm at, so that I don't write, they're in the Emperor's Castle when they really should be up in the Wand's Kingdom. That would be very embarrassing. Okay, so I had to introduce Eve. And to introduce Eve, I had to give her a backstory. I wanted Eve to have quality. I wanted her to have a personality and strength. But she wrote herself. She wrote herself into the book. I didn't have a great deal of control. There's, in the writing process, there's a lot of unconscious stuff happening, and Eve just stepped in and said, "No, you just step aside there and let me write this. And this is what she did. She has wonderful qualities that support Fallen. Fallen's name comes from the Old French, which is Fallen means fool. And Eve, I don't know where that name came from. It just popped into my head and it fitted beautifully. Most of the names here are from the Gaelic, and that's my ancestry is Irish, and I wanted to, validate that through my stories, and we will get onto a little bit more in terms of that as well. Fallen's role initially was to illustrate and demonstrate the qualities of the suit and of each card. But the responsibility or the burden of carrying all that knowledge was enormous. So I had to introduce characters that could carry some of that responsibility. And that's where we get Master Pew and his apprentice. That's where we get, the qualities of the soldiers. And each of these, like that was good fun to write, because I like writing people. I like being, a psychologist, retired psychologist. I enjoy characters. I enjoy personalities, to go into them and delve into their personalities. So writing the characters is always fun for me, and I can get carried away and have hundreds of characters, and I have to trim them off so that it doesn't get too confusing for the reader. Master Pew embodies the earth qualities, and the soldiers in the conversations that they're having, that's what I wanted to show too, that they're down to earth, and I wanted to bring in the qualities of the earthiness that they represent. And you will read that. I won't tell you too much about the book if you haven't read it, but the qualities are there and you'll enjoy them, particularly the marching and the dialogues with the characters. I enjoyed that a lot. The Fallen's father, now I think, well, first of all, I'll just run through. Eve has qualities that I had to build into her backstory. If Eve didn't have a backstory, it'd be like, well, where does she come from? Who's this Eve girl? So that first chapter was my way of introducing Eve, and that took a lot of work. And I'm very grateful that I have two beautiful editors that helped me craft the story, because without them, it would not be anywhere near as good as what it is today. Okay, get down. Whoop. What am I doing? Get rid of. Don't know what I did then, but I did something. Here we go. I've brought in the characters of the court cards. I've used mostly the pages in the first three books, because the page is the bursting forth, that enthusiasm, that raw energy of the suit. That's where the most energy is stored. They can be over the top. Their enthusiasm really draws upon the qualities that we're looking for to illustrate that suit. The knight is mature. He's got those qualities, but he has responsibility for the kingdom. So his role is different to what I needed for Fallen and Eve. Fallen and Eve needed, they needed to match with the enthusiasm of the page energy so that I could express that in the story. Whereas if I match it with the knight, they've already got those qualities and I wouldn't be able to paint the picture. The king and queen, they're already mature. They're standing back, allowing things to happen. They give the responsibility basically to the knight to carry on the work of the kingdom. Their role is different, and you'll read that in the story where they come into it. But basically, I wanted the pages to be young and enthusiastic. And where Alice came from, this is Page Alice, where she came from, I don't know. She just stepped into their kitchen one evening when Follen came home from work, and she stayed. She also helped me introduce the other characters of the kingdom too. So she became a bit of a gem. Follen's meditations. This is important because what I had to do, I had to be able to have a fresh look on the cards. Like over the years, I've read what the Two of Pentacles is, or the Ace of Pentacles. I've read it, hundreds of people's interpretations. But I wanted, if I'm going to write a book, and to be honest in writing that book and giving everything that I can, I had to come at it from my own perspective. So what I did is I scried each card. And this is a practice that I've done for years and years and years. Scrying is something that all tarotists should be doing anyway. You take the card, you're in a comfortable position, you look at the card, close your eyes, reproduce the card, come back, look at it again, check out that you've got the details, go back to your visual image, come back and check it again, and then you go into the card. And that's what I do. And that's where all of Follen's meditations come from. They're my meditations, they're my interpretation. And strange things happen in meditation. The characters will talk to you. Situations will come alive for you. And sometimes it doesn't stop when you open your eyes. Sometimes that meditation will come back later. And some of these cards I will do 3 or 4 scrying sessions to build it, to get the full picture, because sometimes there's too much information in that card and I don't want to miss it. I want to give 100% of what I can to the story, to the reader. This one is where the change point came into my understanding. The change point is critical to each of the suits. What is the suit? The suit is we could say it's a theme. The earth is a series of themes, series of characteristics and qualities. But is there more to it? And that's where the change point. So I found that by going into the meditation with this fellow here and being with him and watching and observing. There's waves, there's ships, there's him balancing like being a juggler. And I looked at a series of other people's cards, looked at their interpretations, but I always come back to the Waite Rider Coleman Smith deck. And that seems to be the 20th century, 21st century, the bottom line. That's where we come from. It's for a number of reasons. I've probably said it 100 times already, but yeah. So this one was special because something clicked inside me, inside my body, inside my energy body. Went, oh. Then I knew this card is not just finding balance. There's more to this card. On each of the 2 cards, there's something about it that's particular to its suit. Now, where is it? Source. It's in there somewhere. Anyway, the village that Follen came from. Oh, don't believe I can't find it. Oh well. Anyway, where the village that Follen came from is called Source. I wanted to stay true to my heritage, to validate my heritage. My heritage is Irish, and I wanted to use Gaelic words as much as I could. So a lot of the words that I use are of Gaelic origin. and source means be true to thyself. And that sort of hit a nerve in my mind, because then Follin's his own history came into it. His family, his father's history, his sister, his brother, and his mother, and the stream and the trees, and his childhood just came together once I had that word. Once I had the name for his village, it evoked a whole backstory that was rich and real. And you will read that through the books. I didn't want to squeeze it all into just one book. That would be, that's not how I wanted it to work. I wanted it to help thread those themes through the whole series. The theme of Follin's father goes through the whole series. That's a particularly important one. The theme of Follin's childhood goes through the series. The characters, the kingdom, yep, I've done that one. Here we go. Why conflict? Well, if we look at the pictures, they're very much medieval. Okay, we're going back 13th century or something. The conflict is something that makes people change. It makes people step up to become the real person that they are, to become or to manifest the true qualities that they have. And I needed Follin to step up. I needed the characters in the story to step up and shine the qualities of each suit. And so, he's in the Tarot Kingdom, the Tarot Empire, and there's 4 kingdoms, and there's conflict with the wildlanders from the north. And as we know, when populations grow, they expand. And when they expand, sometimes they encroach on someone else's territory. And when that happens, there's conflict. And so I wanted to illustrate current themes that we have in our own world with the conflicts like in Syria and other parts of the world where warfare forces people into conflict within themselves, within their own people, and with the external people pushing forward. And that is where the cups and the wands in particular will start to illustrate more of this. Now, it's not that I'm going to be writing battle scenes. No, I'm not. I don't want to do that. If you've read my stories already, you'll see that that's not what I do. I'm not interested in that. But what I want to illustrate is how people can step up in terms of their qualities when confronted with hardship. And that's what I wanted to show. And that's why, Follin is in an empire where there's conflict. And it allows me to tell a story that is rich in the qualities of each suit. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom down here, down to the bottom. Okay, get down here. So each chapter is a card, and weaving each card into a story, or each chapter into a story representing that card that is true and honest to the themes of that card. That's a great way to write a story. I've already got the chapters there. However, it's actually 10 times harder, because that means I have to have that thread of the suit go through each chapter. Yeah, you say that's easy, Pentacles. Pentacles goes right through each card. Yeah, but story. What happens in chapter 1 can't just stay in chapter 1. It goes into chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and they all multiply. By the time you get to chapter 10, it's like, chapter 10 is always my largest chapter, because I'm trying to tie the whole book up. Tie all those threads together so that I'm not leaving you dangling there. I'm getting there. Sorry to do this to you. Okay, there's the final meditation, which brings it together. And yeah, at the end of the book is the card meanings, and the advice of my editors was don't go crazy with hundreds and hundreds of keywords. If you want keywords, you just jump online. Keep it simple, keep it precise and tight. So I did, and that's why this doesn't go crazy. The four court cards, they're qualities. They're not necessarily people. When you do a reading, they can be people, but they're not usually. They're qualities of maturity. So the page is excitable. You know, that youthful energy. The Knight is enthusiastic rather than excitable, but he embodies those practical qualities, solid and careful. That would be a nice way of putting it. Now the Queen and King, they're easy because they are the masters of that suit, the masters of that element. The Queen is the feminine. The King is the masculine. That's the best way to read it. And I've actually got a newsletter that goes into it in greater detail. Astrological correspondences for Pentacles. Now, astrology evolved over thousands and thousands of years, and it is a true science. It's all about numbers, you know, it's geometric. That is at that angle, and that's at that angle. They form a particular relationship. Tarot evolved as a card game, gambling and entertainment. They did not evolve together. And I've probably told you that many times already in my videos. For me personally, I'm a professional astrologer, and I take that really seriously when I do a reading, that I can sometimes see that person there in the chart, but other times it's really hard to tease out the personality traits. Some people are very closed, and that is reflected in the chart, and when I try to read that, I have to lift up the hem, you know, lift up the veil to get to see them, and that takes a lot of work. So to me, astrology is very different to tarot. Tarot, for me personally, is fun. It's nice. It's my way of relaxing. I can get my tarot deck and put a few cards out, and there's my story, and there's my insight, and I'm relaxed and I enjoy it. It's very personal to me. I don't do a lot of tarot readings. I much rather do readings for myself. You know, what do I need to meditate today? I'll pull a card. You know, could be anything. So I'll close my eyes and I'll go and scry it, and then disappear to wherever I go to. So that's what I like doing. I like taking the cards and using it myself. So there is no real enmeshing of astrology and tarot. And a lot of authors have tried to do this. It looks great, but I don't prescribe to that. However, the elements match seamlessly. It's like, boom, what a beautiful matching of earth with Pentacles. That is incredible. The early writers of the Hermetic Order of Golden Dawn, Arthur Edward Waite, and the artist Pamela Colman Smith, they have created this deck, and Pamela Colman Smith in particular has the pictures for each of those cards of the minor arcana. They're perfect. They match the earth qualities to a T. So is there correspondence with astrology? Only through the elements. But the elements are Western magic, Western esoteria. So it matches astrology, Wicca, paganism, tarot, etc., etc. So yes, are there astrological correspondences? For me, it's the elements. And in astrology, I do a lot of work with the elements. And that's a blur with me. what I want to show you now is some of the tools I use. This one here is Scrivener. Scrivener is a program that has chapters. Here's all my chapters. This is what I'm writing for the wands now. As you can see, I haven't got a great deal, but each chapter is you know, a box of itself, and you just build it, and you can put anything in it. Keywords. Oh, I've got no keywords there. Astrology. Oh, I've got nothing there. But this is a fantastic tool because it keeps that chapter nice and tight. And what I've done is some of my previous books, I've had chapters and stories that didn't fit, so I've pulled them out, and they fit perfectly for the wands. And I'm so looking forward to writing them in because that'll be really exciting. Okay, so that is Scrivener. There it is. I do recommend it. It's good. You can put all sorts of stuff in there. The other one is by the same people, is Scapel. It's a mind map. Makes mind maps. And you know, these are my plans for 2021, and you just mind map it. Oh, look at this. Hang on. There we go. I got a line now. So you can do all sorts of things. This is my mind map. Yep. And you can now make it a red text and put a border in. I'm good at this, aren't I? Yeah. And you can link it up with this. And then you can add stuff. Okay, so this is another useful tool that I use fairly regularly, and I might have you know, one. I've actually got a mind map for my Coddiwompling. Actually, let me show you. Where is my Coddywomple? Here it is. I've been playing around with it. The more I play with it, the more I mess it up and fiddle about. But it's just a way of collating my thoughts and ideas and my plans and the things that I've done and haven't done. Actually, if I join that to that, there we go, I've got it. And I think I can delete that somehow. I think if I click on it, done it, I'll work it out. So there we have some tools, useful tools for any writer, or if you're doing study, they're useful for study as well. And that's the Fool's Journey through the Tarot Pentacles. I'll be doing some more on the other books, probably not as detailed in terms of you know, this stuff down the bottom there, but each book has a story. The Pentacles book took me, I don't know, 4 months to write, I think. Several months to edit, and I've re-edited it recently, and then I had it made professionally as an audiobook with a professional narrator that did the Major Arcana, Jonathan Johns, whom I love to bits. So please grab the audiobook. The artwork, if you look here, that's the picture that I now have for my covers. I've used the same artist that I used for the Psychological Astrology series, Peter Fenton, and I've had that made into the whole series for the Fool's Journey. So they look a little bit different. They've all been updated. If you have any questions or problems, just let me know. Anyway, I'll catch you at the next Coddiwompling. Thank you.